Hi, and welcome to the Early Retirement Roadmap Podcast, the show where I help you prepare for and design a life you love after work. So, you work 30 to 40 years. You wake up early, sit in traffic, give your best to a job that takes up most of your day. You save, you plan, you make sacrifices. And all along the way, there's this promise we're sold: retirement, the finish line, the reward, freedom. But what if I told you that for a lot of people, that promise doesn't deliver? What if I told you that retirement for many feels lonely, unstructured, and even a little empty? Today, I want to give you a real retirement reality check, not to discourage you, but to prepare you. Because retirement can be incredible, but only if you prepare for more than just your finances. Let's get into it. Let's start with the dream. Close your eyes for a second if you can. Don't if you're driving or walking outside, of course, and picture it. What do you see? Maybe it's white sand beaches, a little bungalow in the mountains, a quiet morning with coffee and no alarm clock, a few hobbies, maybe more time with the grandkids, finally time to live. That's the picture we're painted. And honestly, that's what most people are planning for. A recent MassMutual study that I've included a link to in the show notes or description found that 76% of people expect to travel when they retire. 71% plan to exercise more, and 44% plan to pursue new hobbies. And all that sounds amazing on paper, but here's the part that no one talks about. The actual day to day reality for a lot of retirees looks, well, very different. According to the same study, the most common activity in retirement: watching TV. Yep, no joke. 83% of retirees say it's their number one daily habit. Travel, that drops to just 59% from 76%. Exercising, fewer people follow through than expected. 71% drops to 59% in reality. Pursuing new hobbies, the 44% expectation drops to 29% in reality. And that time with friends and family, it's harder than you think. Life doesn't pause for everyone else just because you're retired. And this is the one thing that really struck me. 31% of retirees say they felt lonely since leaving the workforce. That's nearly 1 in 3. Let that sit with you for a second. And here's the twist: it's not usually about the money. 78% of retirees say they have enough or more than enough in retirement savings. So if finances aren't the problem, then what is? The truth is, most people plan their retirement accounts, but they don't plan for their retirement life. Only 7% of retirees say they prepared for social connection before leaving work, and 13% regret not taking care of their health. Think about that. You prepare for decades to have the money to retire, but forget to build the life to go with it. It's like designing your dream house and then forgetting to put the furniture inside. Let's talk identity for a minute as well. If you've ever had your work deeply tied to who you are, you're going to feel this. For decades, your job gives you structure, it gives you purpose, it gives you a title. And then suddenly, all of that just disappears. You're not teacher, doctor, or in my case, a healthcare IT analyst anymore. You're just you. And that really hits harder than people expect. This was a big one for me, especially in the first few days and weeks of retirement. It was just so strange not going to work every day, and I felt really weird and was like, okay, so now what? What am I going to do now? And I'm not alone. Per the study, 7% of retirees say they just don't know what to do with themselves. And 31% said retirement has made them feel lonely. And loneliness, it's now considered a public health epidemic, according to the US Surgeon General. And I've included a link to that in the show notes or description. Okay, so here's some good news. Not everyone feels this way. Some retirees are genuinely thriving, and there's a pattern to what they do. They didn't just prep financially, they prepped emotionally, physically, and socially. The happiest retirees in the study all had three things in common. First, they took care of their health, they exercised, they ate better, they stayed active. Second, they invested in relationships, friendships, family, and community. And third, they built purpose into their days, whether that was volunteering, mentoring, learning, or creating. They didn't retire from something, they retired into something. For me, I'm focusing more on my health and it's making me feel better. I need to work harder at this though. I told myself I was going to exercise every day, but that's not always the case. And I also said I'm going to eat better, but I need to work more on that too. I think the biggest thing is to realize that as human beings, we're really creatures of habit. So it takes some time to start a new routine, break out of old habits. So I'm learning I need to give myself some grace and realize all these challenges and changes are not going to happen overnight. The sense of purpose, I actually feel like I'm excelling at that, to be honest. And it does make a huge difference, especially with the loss of identity issue, which I did feel, but it was pretty short lived because I got pretty busy with creating my YouTube channel, this podcast, creating a web page and maintaining it, creating a Facebook page. So that has all kept me really busy, plus the everyday tasks that I have to do and other hobbies like picking up the piano. The social connection invested in relationships piece, that didn't even cross my mind prior to retirement, and it's not something that has really affected me. I think this really depends on your personality. I'm naturally an introvert, so keeping all of my social connections was not a huge need for my mental health. But I think if you're an extrovert, this is a big change and something to think about having in place and a plan for before you retire. Let's break down some more myths that lead people straight into retirement they just didn't expect. Myth number one: retirement will naturally just be exciting. We assume that with no alarm clocks, no boss, no deadlines, life will just feel amazing. But the reality is, for a lot of people, that excitement fades fast because there's no schedule, there's no real reason to get out of bed, and no one is expecting anything from you. And unless you've planned for how to create excitement, it probably won't show up on its own. Fulfillment doesn't just arrive with a pension check, you have to build it. Myth number two: retirement will feel peaceful and fulfilling. Now, don't get me wrong, most retirees do feel less stressed. And believe me, my stress level has gone to almost zero when I retired, which is a far cry from what it was when I was working and I was stressed all the time. But less stress doesn't always equal more joy. Because when the noise dies down, a lot of people feel a different kind of discomfort: boredom, aimlessness, even loneliness. That peace can feel a lot more like emotional drift if you're not intentional. And again, 31% of retirees frankly admit that they've felt lonely at times. That's not just a statistic, that's a signal that something deeper is going unaddressed. Myth number three: retirement means freedom from structure. And this one sounds great on the surface. No meetings, no 9 to 5, no commute, just free time all day long. But what we don't realize is that structure actually gives us stability and meaning. Without it, a day can feel like a week, and a week can feel like you're floating without purpose. The happiest retirees create their own structure. They block out time for movement, connection, learning, and rest. So it's freedom with direction. That's the sweet spot. And this has been all the difference for me. Every day of the week, I have routines that I do each day. Like Wednesdays is grocery shopping, Thursdays is paying bills, checking my investments, going through the mail, and you get the picture. I get through my must haves, then I set goals for myself for the rest of the day, mostly centered around all the content creation tasks I'm doing. And I must tell you, I don't feel adrift or aimless at all. And I've never once been bored since I retired. Myth number 4 is my relationships will stay the same. No, retirement shifts everything, including your relationships. Your coworkers will fade away, the routines that associated with that disappear, and friends may still be working. Staying connected takes real effort, and some bonds will change whether you're ready or not. For me, this was definitely the case. Of all my coworkers, I have really only heard from one regularly since I retired. And it can be challenging when you feel like doing something during the week, but all your friends are still working. Myth number 5 is retirement is the end of growth. This one is so wrong. A lot of people treat retirement like a slow fade, a quiet closing of the chapter, but the truth is, it can be your most expansive, meaningful phase if you treat it that way. The happiest retirees keep learning. They mentor, they volunteer, they explore, they start businesses, they pick up hobbies and take classes, they keep growing. And that keeps them alive in every sense of the word. And oh my gosh, this is so true. I have to say, I've learned a ton since I've retired, and I'm still learning. Not only about content creation, which is what I'm focused on right now, but just in general. I actually started watching YouTube every morning just for the purpose of learning something new. And the other thing I've done here and there for the friends that have asked me is gave them investment advice. So that mentoring has been very fulfilling to me and enjoyable. So, yeah, retirement can be beautiful, but not if you go in blind. Now that you know the myths, let's talk about what to do instead. How do you build the retirement you actually want? Here's what I'd suggest: take care of your health, exercise, and eat better. Build your post work identity, explore who you are without the job, reconnect or expand your social circle, and find purpose. Volunteer, create, mentor, build. And finally, accept imperfection. It won't all be perfect, and that's okay. Retirement's not the end, it's a reset. It's the chance to build a life you choose. But it doesn't happen automatically. You have to design it intentionally. If this made you think a little deeper about retirement, I'd love for you to share it with someone who's starting to plan theirs. And if you've already retired, I'd love to hear what your experience has been like. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Early Retirement Roadmap. And when you're not on the go, check out my Early Retirement Roadmap YouTube channel or my website, mikeupland.com, for all my media, including my blog posts. Until next time, this is Mike Upland. Take care and make the most of today.